Hello friends, let us now talk about metaphors and similes. So before we go on to metaphors and similes, I have to talk to you about figures of speech, because a metaphor and a simile both are figures of speech. Language can be used literally and figuratively. Language is literal when we use a word to convey just what the word means. For example, in the sentence, when I say there are different types of flowers, the word flowers is used literally. The very same word becomes figurative in another sentence. A group of young girls sauntered by, nodding and smiling like flowers dancing in the gentle breeze. There, the word flowers is used figuratively because you want that word to convey the beauty and the freshness of the young girls who sauntered by. So this is an instance of how a word can be used either literally or figuratively. And figurative language is usually used in literature, especially in poetry. A writer makes creative use of various figures of speech to make his language more expressive, more emotive, more interesting, and more attractive. Now, when Lady Macbeth in the play Macbeth says, "All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand," there Shakespeare is employing a figure of speech. He is using hyperbole. And when she says that all the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand, there you can see how deeply this lady has been affected by the guilt of having murdered an innocent man. So there is this figurative use of language. Hyperbole is used there. A heightened and exaggerated use of language. So figures of speech are literary devices. They add flair and flavor to the language. They infuse figurative meanings into literal meanings and make words more appealing. And there are many figures of speech. So let us for now talk only about two of them, similes and metaphors. Now, what is a simile? I'm sure that all of you know what a simile is. A simile is used as a comparison or an analogy. And a simile is usually, you use it along with words like as or like or so. And one example of a simile would be she is innocent as a child. So there, as. So the child and this she is compared. And so what happens in a simile actually? In a simile, a comparison is made between two objects. And these two objects are distinctly different. When I say Rima is as innocent as a child, you know that Rima is very different. She is a grown person. She is definitely not a child, and so Rima is as innocent. So there is a difference between, there are two distinctly different things that are compared. But then what is the real purpose of this comparison? There has to be at least one point in common between these two. That is what happens in a simile. A comparison of two things of the same kind is not a simile. Now, for instance, when I say Vijay sings like Yeshudas, that is not a simile. You are just stating a fact that he sings like the other person. Okay, so there is nothing figurative there. You are only being literal there. But when you say that Vijay's voice is like honey, there it becomes a simile. And how does it become a simile? There is nothing similar between these two, Vijay's voice and honey. They are two entirely different things. But there is something that is common. What is common between Vijay's voice and honey? It is the sweetness that is common between the two. So that is how a simile works. You bring together two different things, distinctly different things, but they share a common something that is common, a common characteristic. So this is what a simile is. There are many similes that are commonly used in everyday speech, like you have when you say that somebody is proud as a peacock, white as snow, tough as leather. So when you say that Ramesh is tough as leather. What is common between Ramesh and leather? Nothing. They are two different things. But then the toughness is what is common. Okay, so that is a simile. And now you also have something called epic simile. Students of literature might come across instances of epic simile, or what you would call Homeric simile, because Homer used such kind of similes in his classic works, Iliad and the Odyssey. What happens in a Homeric simile is that it is very elaborate. A picture itself is expanded from a simile. Like there is an example in the poem Scholar Gypsy, where there is a comparison between modern men and Greek traders. So the poet advises or warns the scholar gypsy to keep away from the modern men, like the Tyrian traders avoided contact with the Grecians. That is a kind of extended simile. Okay, but just because I mentioned similes, I thought I would mention epic or Homeric simile. If you search for, you can find more examples of this. I hope you have understood what a simile basically means. Now let's go on to the metaphor. A metaphor is again a comparison. It is an implied simile. Implied in the sense it does not openly state or make a comparison of one thing to another, but it just takes something for granted and it proceeds as if two things are the same. Like, for example, let me use the most common example. The camel is the ship of the desert. The camel is the ship of the desert. There it doesn't say here that the camel is like the ship of the desert. Then what would happen? It would become a simile. But here you are just taking for granted that one is the other. So that is a metaphor. The camel is the ship of the desert. Let me give you a few more examples. A dark blanket of fine coal dust lay over the rooftops, towers and trees. A dark blanket of coal dust lay over the rooftops, towers and trees. So you're not saying that the coal dust lay like a blanket over the rooftops. You're simply saying a dark blanket of fine coal dust. So you're just assuming that it is a blanket. The new friendship was balm for my aching soul. The new friendship was balm for my aching soul. So you're not saying the new friendship was like a balm. You're simply saying that it is balm for my aching soul. So this is what happens in a metaphor. And a metaphor is a very creative and innovative comparison of two unlike things. You would find any number of interesting metaphors. Let me just give you one or two which I found very interesting. Now look at this sentence. It is from a book called Fault in Our Stars by John Green. And listen to this metaphor. The sun was a toddler, insistently refusing to go to bed. It was past 8:30 and still light. So you can see there, the sun is compared to a toddler. You are not saying that the sun was like a toddler. You're simply saying the sun was a toddler. And why do you say that the sun was a toddler? Because toddlers too don't like to go to bed early. Same way, children too don't like to go to bed early. Same way, the sun too refused to go to bed. It was 8:30 and yet it was light. What an interesting metaphor. And then there is this very famous one by Shakespeare in the play As You Like It. All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So he is not saying that all the world is like a stage. He simply says that all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. So a very telling metaphor that is. So that is a metaphor. So a metaphor, it puts an object or a concept in a more clear perspective. It makes you understand things with a better clarity. It gives a deeper understanding to a thing or a story or a message or a concept. When you say that you are my oxygen, it says so many things in that one. It's not that you are like my oxygen, you are my oxygen. That is, it has more impact. it has more of an effect. The Lord is my anchor. So that shows how much you depend on God, how much you trust in God. So now that is about metaphor. And let me tell you, since I've told you this much about metaphor, let me add some more information. The critic I.A. Richards has given names. He has labeled the two parts of a metaphor, and he calls the subject of the metaphor as tenor, T-E-N-O-R, and he calls the metaphorical term the vehicle. So if you take the example, memories are bullets. Memories are bullets. What a beautiful metaphor, isn't it? Memories are bullets. There, the subject of the metaphor is memories. So that you would call tenor, and bullets which is the metaphorical term. It pierces you. Memories pierce you like bullets. So bullets would be what I.A. Richards calls the vehicle. So he labels the two parts of a metaphor as tenor and vehicle. Now, since I've told this much, let me also mention about conceits. Now, a conceit is a figure of speech. It is actually a simile or a metaphor. This was used to perfection by the metaphysical poets, and metaphysical poets like John Donne, Marvell, and even modern poets like T.S. Eliot have used conceits, which is an advanced form of a simile or a metaphor. In John Donne's A Valediction Forbidding Mourning, you have this comparison of two lovers to stiff twin compasses. To the two feet, the lovers are compared to the compass, the two legs of the compass. So that is a conceit. And let me give you a conceit from T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot in the love song of Alfred J. Prufrock, this is how he talks about the evening. When the evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. So what kind of incongruous, highly incongruous kind of a combination. Evening is spread out against the sky like a patient etherized upon the table. So that is yet another example of a conceit. So I guess these are the things you have to remember in connection with simile and metaphor. So you can try finding more. You will find any number of, I wanted to add many more because there are such beautiful similes and metaphors if you search for them. So just try finding some more so that you can distinguish between the two, and you would know the different types of similes and metaphors. So maybe in another video we can talk about yet another figure of speech. So till then, I hope you will try to get more familiar with metaphors and similes.